My wife told me to stop being so dramatic after her daughter spent $200 on my debit card without asking, so I ruined her date. That was 9 weeks ago. Yesterday, she collapsed on the kitchen floor holding her daughter's unlocked tablet. My wife told me to stop being so dramatic after her daughter spent $200 on my debit card without asking, so I ruined her date. That was 9 weeks ago. Yesterday, she collapsed on the kitchen floor holding her daughter's unlocked tablet. I was 7 years old when I fell in love with my girl best friend, Sophia. I just remember sitting on the swings with her and thinking that her eyes were really cool. But right before I could say anything, she told me about her new crush at the time, Tyler. This pretty much set the tone for the rest of our friendship until we both turned 19. We were in the same college course and she came over to my dorm one night when she was drunk as heck. "You know, Andrew, you're cute." I wasn't sure what she meant until she started to lean in. But because of how drunk she was, I rejected it. I didn't want her to do anything she regretted. And the next day, we didn't talk about it. Actually, we never talked about it again. And 2 years later, she was married to some other dude, and we distanced. The whole time, I stayed single. Because I was so in love with Sophia that it wouldn't have been fair to any other girl. But 4 years later, when they divorced, we started talking again. It's now been 17 years since they divorced. And we're officially together and married too. Everything about our relationship has been a dream. Well, kind of. There was one caveat. Her 17-year-old daughter, Becky. And despite Sophia having a literal restraining order against her ex, Becky could never get used to me. And this combined with her brattiness was a deadly combo. One time, she asked to borrow my debit card to pay for a school trip. And from the parenting books, I learned that trusting your kids is essential for a good relationship. So I ignored my instincts and let her. But then I got the phone notification. She had spent over $200 on Zara. I didn't want to overstep. So I went to Sophia first instead of Becky. She probably thought she had your permission. Don't be dramatic. Well, I didn't care about being right or powerful. I just wanted our family to be happy. So I automatically agreed with her. But then, not even 2 weeks later, Sophia ripped my heart out of my chest and crapped all over it. I let her borrow my work laptop so she could play music while she got ready for school. I told her to make sure not to download anything because if I got any viruses I would be screwed. She smiled and even gave me a hug and I thought we were actually getting somewhere. I was in the car on the way to work when I got stuck in traffic. F it, I thought to myself. May as well review the project I'm presenting today. But as I took it out, the screen glitched, froze, and went completely black. Turns out, she downloaded some sketchy music app that installed malware, wiped half my files, and corrupted the entire presentation folder. The folder I had been working on for the last 6 months, the one that determines whether or not I get a promotion, the one that the CEO, VP, and president of the company was going to watch. I damn near almost cried. Luckily, I had a pretty good company reputation, so they believed me and let me off the hook. I waited till I got home to bring it up to Sophia. I started off by telling her I didn't get my promotion and her face automatically fell. "Oh, baby. It's okay. There'll be other chances and it's because of Becky." I interrupted her consolation. She immediately wiped the look of sadness from her face and we spent the next 10 minutes arguing about whether or not she had meant to do it. In the end, I conceded. I felt so fed up that I didn't even bring it up to Becky. Instead, she brought it up to me. It was the following morning, and she came into my bedroom. "Hey, Mom told me what happened." "I'm sorry," she said, voice shaking. My face immediately lit up. "Hey. It's okay. These things happen. The most important thing is that we own up to our mistakes and apologize." I didn't know it at the time, but the worst was yet to come. Because that's when she asked me to borrow my car for an outdoor movie night in the local park. Again, I thought about the parenting books and agreed. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you." And she gave me a big hug. It was the first time she had called me Dad. I smiled for so long my cheekbones started hurting. That evening, I was going to surprise her with a McDonald's meal I had ordered for her. But just as I was about to walk into her room, I heard her on the phone with her friend. I swear parents are the dumbest people alive. My stepdad actually thinks I like him. Like, "I want your car, not you." I dropped the bag of McDonald's right on the floor. I was so hurt that my heart felt like it was burning up. I knew if I thought about it any longer, I would do something I'd regret. So I just went to bed. But the next day, I had my little petty revenge plan set into place. I called my buddy whose job it is to tow cars, and everything was going according to plan. Long story short, my car was brought to the auto repair shop. But when I looked inside the car, it wasn't just Becky in the back seat, because apparently, she was on a date that I had just ruined. When I saw the look of embarrassment mixed with shock on her face, I couldn't help but laugh. But she wasn't laughing. I saw a flicker of anger in her eyes. Oh, big and scary Becky. Like, what is she gonna do? Well, I soon found out just what she had up her sleeve. "You're going to regret this," she muttered as she stormed past me, dragging her date along. I drove her home, the silence in the car so thick you could cut it with a knife. When we got home, she ran straight to Sophia, who was waiting at the door with her arms crossed. "What the hell, Andrew?" Sophia demanded. "You had our daughter's car towed while she was on a date? What kind of power move is that?" I tried explaining what happened. The McDonald's, the phone conversation I overheard, how Becky was only using me. Sophia's expression softened slightly, but she still thought my reaction was extreme. "We'll talk to her together," she promised. "But you can't pull stunts like this. She's a teenager. They say stupid things to their friends." That night, Becky refused to come out of her room for our family meeting. The next morning, she was eerily pleasant at breakfast, smiling sweetly and asking about my day ahead. Something about her sudden change in demeanor sent chills down my spine. This wasn't over. I went to work distracted, wondering what Becky might be planning. By lunchtime, I had a dozen missed calls from Sophia. When I finally reached her, she was hysterical. "The school just called," she sobbed. "Becky told her guidance counselor that you've been inappropriate with her. Andrew, they're launching an investigation. They've already called CPS." My blood ran cold. This wasn't some teenage prank. This was my life, my reputation, my freedom potentially on the line. All because I tried to teach a manipulative teenager a lesson about honesty. "She's lying," I managed to say through the shock. "You know she's lying, right?" The pause before Sophia answered felt like an eternity. "I want to believe you," she finally said. "But why would she make something like this up?" I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. The car ride home was a blur. I kept replaying Sophia's words in my head. That hesitation before saying she believed me. Did she really think I was capable of something so vile? Did she not know me at all after all these years? The streets passed by in a haze as my mind raced through every interaction I'd ever had with Becky, searching desperately for anything that could have been misinterpreted. When I got home, Becky was sitting at the kitchen counter eating cereal like nothing had happened. Her eyes flicked up to me for just a second, and I swear I saw a tiny smirk before she looked back down at her phone. Sophia was pacing in the living room, her face tear-streaked and pale, her hands nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. "What exactly did she say to the counselor?" I asked Sophia, trying to keep my voice steady despite the growing knot in my stomach. Sophia glanced nervously toward Becky, who was pretending not to listen while obviously hanging on every word. "Let's talk in our room," she whispered, leading me down the hallway with tense shoulders. Once the bedroom door closed behind us, Sophia broke down. According to the school counselor, Becky had claimed I'd been making her uncomfortable with lingering hugs and walking in on her changing. Complete fabrications, but just vague enough to raise serious concerns without being immediately dismissible. The calculated nature of it chilled me to the core. "You know none of this is true, right?" I said, my voice cracking with emotion. "This is because I embarrassed her with the car. She told me I'd regret it." Those were her exact words, Sophia. Sophia rubbed her temples, her wedding ring catching the light as she did. "I want to believe you, Andrew. I do. But you have to admit, the timing of your car prank was it looks bad. Like you were trying to catch her in a compromising position." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now?" I had no idea she was on a date. "And even if I did, why would I? God, Sophia, you know me. After 10 years together, how can you even entertain the thought?" She wouldn't look me in the eye, focusing instead on a family photo on our dresser from happier times. "CPS is coming tomorrow for an initial assessment. They'll want to talk to all of us separately." That night, I slept on the couch, or tried to sleep anyway. Every creak of the house set my nerves on edge, each shadow making my heart race. The home that had always been my sanctuary now felt like hostile territory. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps and froze. Becky appeared in the doorway of the living room, just watching me. When she realized I was awake, she didn't even flinch. "You should have just let me have the car," she said flatly, her silhouette framed against the dim hallway light. "Becky, this has gone way too far," I whispered, sitting up. "Do you understand what you are doing? These kinds of accusations ruin lives. They destroy families. Is that what you want?" She shrugged, the casual gesture so at odds with the severity of the situation. "Maybe you should thought about that before embarrassing me in front of Jake. He hasn't texted me back, you know. Probably thinks I'm a total loser with a psycho stepdad. So this is about a boy?" I couldn't keep the disbelief from my voice. "You're willing to destroy our family over a high school crush? The family we've built together for all these years? You're not my family," she said, and walked back to her room, leaving me alone with the crushing weight of her words. I barely made it through the CPS interview the next day. The caseworker, Patricia, was professional, but I could feel her scrutinizing every expression, every gesture, looking for signs of deception. Her pen hovered continuously over her notepad, ready to document any suspicious response. I told her everything, from my history with Sophia to the recent incidents with Becky. When I mentioned overhearing Becky's phone conversation about using me for my car, Patricia's expression never changed. "And you felt it was appropriate to retaliate against your stepdaughter by having her car towed while she was with a friend?" she asked, making notes in her leather-bound portfolio. "It wasn't retaliation," I insisted, leaning forward earnestly. "It was supposed to be a lesson about honesty. I had no idea she was with anyone. And it wasn't her car, it's my car that she borrowed. I was trying to parent, not punish." Patricia just nodded, her face carefully neutral. "Mr. Mitchell, has your relationship with Becky always been strained, or is this a recent development?" I explained how close we'd been when she was younger, how things changed in her teens, how I tried everything to connect with her, supporting her hobbies, attending every school event, even learning about her favorite bands just to have something to talk about. How this felt like the ultimate betrayal after years of trying to be a good stepfather. "And you've never behaved inappropriately toward her?" Patricia asked directly, her eyes locked on mine. "Never," I said, looking her straight in the eyes. "I would never harm Becky or any child in any way. The very suggestion makes me physically ill." After Patricia left, the house felt like a war zone. Sophia told me that Becky had doubled down on her story, adding new details about times I'd allegedly made comments about her appearance. It was like watching my life collapse in slow motion, helpless to stop the destruction. "I think you should stay with a friend for a few days," Sophia finally said that evening, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just until this gets sorted out." My heart shattered. "You're kicking me out of my own home? Based on lies? I'm trying to protect everyone here," she said weakly, wrapping her arms around herself as if cold. "If you're innocent, this will all blow over." "If I'm innocent?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "After everything we've been through, you can't even say you know I wouldn't do this." She wouldn't look at me, her gaze fixed on the floor between us like an unbridgeable chasm. "I don't know what to believe anymore, Andrew." I packed a bag while Becky watched from her bedroom doorway, her stance triumphant despite her carefully neutral expression. As I headed for the front door, I heard her whisper, "Bye, Dad," in a mocking tone that twisted the knife even deeper. I stayed with my friend Robert for the next week. My boss was understanding enough to let me work remotely, though the whispers had already started at the office. Someone from HR called to check in about the situation. Apparently, Sophia had mentioned it to a coworker who knew someone in my company. The rumor mill was running full speed, turning my professional reputation to dust. The isolation was the worst part. Most of my friends were also friends with Sophia, and they weren't sure who to believe. People stopped returning my calls. Invitations dried up. Social media became a minefield. My sister, Jessica, was the only one who stood by me unquestioningly. "Becky's been manipulating situations for years," she reminded me during one of our late-night calls. "Remember when she told everyone I knocked over her science project on purpose? The girl is a pathological liar when she wants something." 10 days after moving out, I got a text from an unknown number. "I know Becky is lying. Meet me at Riverside Park at 4 p.m. today. Come alone." The message stared at me from my screen, both tantalizing and terrifying in its possibilities. I probably should have been more cautious, but I was desperate for any support. I showed up at the park and found a gangly teenage boy sitting on a bench, nervously bouncing his leg, his dark hair falling into his eyes as he scanned the area. "Are you Andrew?" he asked as I approached. When I nodded, he continued, "I'm Jake. I was with Becky in your car that night." We sat down and Jake told me everything. He and Becky had been casually dating for a few weeks. That night, she'd bragged about how she could get whatever she wanted from her stupid stepdad just by pretending to be nice to him. She'd even shown Jake the text where she'd told her friend about only wanting my car, not me. "She wanted to, hook up in your car because she thought it would be funny," Jake admitted, looking uncomfortable, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "She kept saying stuff about how she was going to get your credit card info next. Maybe order some stuff online." She laughed about how easy you were to manipulate. "So why are you telling me this?" I asked, suspicious that this might be another trap in an increasingly complex web of deception. Jake looked down, scuffing his sneaker against the pavement. "Because she's doing the same thing to me now. I broke things off after that night. The way she talked about you freaked me out. So she told everyone at school I forced myself on her in your car. Now nobody's talking to me. And the principal called my parents." I felt simultaneously vindicated and horrified. "Do you have those texts she sent you about using me for my car?" Jake nodded, already pulling out his phone. "I saved everything. I was going to show the principal, but then I heard about what she's saying you did, and I got scared they'd think I was just trying to get back at her." We spent the next hour making a plan. Jake would forward me all the texts. I'd talk to Patricia from CPS and show her the evidence. Maybe, just maybe, This nightmare could end. And I could reclaim my life and reputation. What I didn't count on was Becky's ability to stay one step ahead. When I tried calling Patricia the next day, she informed me that Becky had already told them about Jake, casting him as a bitter ex who would say anything to hurt her. She'd even shed tears about how Jake was pressuring her to change her story about me. These text messages could have been fabricated, Patricia said when I forwarded Jake's evidence, her tone measured but skeptical. We see this kind of retaliation in cases like yours quite often. Cases like mine? I repeated, my grip tightening on the phone. You mean cases where innocent people are being set up by manipulative teenagers? Patricia's silence spoke volumes. In her mind, I was already guilty. Another predator claiming innocence despite damning evidence. That night, I hit rock bottom. I sat in Robert's guest room staring at old family photos on my phone. Becky's 10th birthday when she'd hugged me so tight after opening the art set I'd bought her. Christmas morning when she'd insisted I help her build the Lego set Santa brought. Where had that little girl gone? How had we ended up here? With her determined to destroy me and everything I loved. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Need to talk. Can you come by tomorrow when Becky's at school? 10 a.m. The message glowed in the darkness. A tiny beacon of possible hope. I barely slept that night, alternating between hope that Sophia had finally seen through Becky's lies and fear that this was just another ambush. When I arrived at our house, no longer feeling like my home, Sophia looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, wearing the same sweatshirt she'd had on when I left almost 2 weeks ago. I found something, she said, leading me to the kitchen table. She pushed a tablet toward me. Becky left this unlocked. It was open to Becky's Instagram direct messages with someone called Karma Queen 97. The messages went back months, detailing her plans to get rid of me. Apparently she'd been telling her online friend about all her schemes, the debit card, the laptop virus, using me for my car. The latest messages were about the false accusations with Karma Queen 97 coaching her on what to say to make her story more believable. There's more, Sophia said, swiping to a different conversation. She's been in contact with Mark. They've been planning for her to move in with him once she turns 18 next year. Mark, the ex with anger issues and a restraining order. The man who'd made Sophia fear for her safety. He was behind this. He's been feeding her lines about how I stole her real family from her, Sophia whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Telling her that I betrayed them by marrying you. That I'm dead to him. That she's the only connection he has left to his real family. The puzzle pieces finally clicked together. Becky's sudden change when she hit her teens wasn't just typical adolescent rebellion. It coincided with Mark finding ways to contact her behind Sophia's back. He'd been poisoning her against us for years, planting seeds of resentment that had finally bloomed into this nightmare. Have you shown this to Patricia? I asked,